Joining me today is Neil Ward, who's running for the New Hampshire House of Representatives. He's running in the Claremont Ward 1. So, Neil, is this your first time running for office?
It is. I've been a dentist for 40 years, and I've retired 2 years ago, and want to get involved now. I've got some time.
I hear the accent, and it doesn't sound like it's from New Hampshire. Tell us, how did you end up in New Hampshire?
Well, I grew up in Tennessee. That's the accent that you're hearing was Tennessee, and I spent a lot of my adult life in Florida, 27 years practicing there. And we started vacationing in New England maybe 15 years ago, and just fell in love with New England. It was much like Tennessee, where I grew up, actually, in the mountains. And my wife and I, when we got the chance, reordered our lives and made the jump here in 2001.
So did you practice here?
I practiced in Mascoma Dental in Lebanon for 5 years. And I did a short stint in Maine also. And then I retired, and my parents, my father and his wife, got rapid onset dementia. So my wife and I took care of them for 1.5 years and until they passed away. And that's made me really sensitive to elder issues and end-of-life issues, you know, that I really wasn't that familiar with until having gone through it myself. So I have great sympathy for caregivers. You know, that's one thing that I'll be sensitive to in the legislature should I be elected.
So what about that experience, you know, I mean, how does that shape how you look at medical, the Medicare, our whole medical disposition? Well,
you know, I'm 65 years old now, so I've just gone on Medicare myself. And it has been a different experience. I was super impressed when I was taking care of my father and his wife, you know, during their last days, how much was actually available to help as far as hospice care. The hospice care in this area is just fantastic. And although I noticed that the federal government is talking about cutting a lot of that out from Medicare now, you know, and upset about that. You know, I think that with our aging population, that we need those services, you know, and that it's such a challenge for caregivers to take care of their loved ones in their last days, that those services need to be available.
And I would think, I'm not a medical economist by any stretch of the imagination, but I would think sort of a hospice, home care sort of issues from a governmental perspective have got to be much more economically viable than the hospital.
It does, and not only the personal touch of caring for your own family members, but you know, the cost of having them in continuous care in a nursing home, you know, can be upwards of $8,000–9,000 a month. You know, and hospice care with a nurse coming in every day or 2 days, 3 days, or, you know, on a need basis, much less. You know, so I don't understand, you know, the logic in cutting those services back.
Well, yeah, I don't either, and I'm not an expert in the area.
Right.
So, tell me a little bit more about how you approach, you must have thought about sort of your approach to policy making as you thought about running for office.
Well, you know, I was inspired to run for office by Joe Osgood, who's a local politician here and runs Joe's Family Auto. Joe's a good friend of mine, and when I see the service that he's done for this community, it just inspired me to get involved also. And I've known Joe for several years, and I would encourage the people of Claremont to do themselves a favor and return Joe to the legislature, because he is one of the best men that I know. But I've always wanted to be involved. It's just like most people that work for a living, you just don't have the time, you know, to take off 2 days a week or 3 days a week and go to Concord and be involved. And once my father and his wife passed and we were through with that obligation and duty that we were happy to do, I started looking at where do I want to get involved now, you know, because for the first time in 42 years, I'm free, you know, as far as being retired and have the time to do it. And I think that at the state level, I picked the state level because the state level can impact things that I care about, like job formation and economic growth. You know, our economy in New Hampshire is the worst of the New England states. And, you know, we've had 10 years of Democratic leadership, you know, in the governor's office. And I'd like to see that turn back to focusing on small business growth and new job creation. You know, Texas has been very successful in doing that, as well as New York. And if they can do it, we can do it. It's just a matter of having the political will to do it. So I'm hoping that, you know, the conservatives can, you know, get into power and turn things around in that direction. Because the thing I hate worse that I'm seeing is that a lot of our kids and grandkids are leaving the state because they can't find, you know, a living wage here, a living wage job here. You know, one of my goals would be, in participating in the legislature, would be to support economic growth so that those jobs will be there when the kids graduate from high school and college, so that they can remain here and live the New Hampshire lifestyle that we all love.
That caused you to move to the state in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't come here to change things in New Hampshire. I came to New Hampshire because I fell in love with New Hampshire, the way it is.
Well, it's a great point to end.